Guys, I finally watched Arcane. To be honest, this is the best anime I've watched in the recent years. No joke. I mean, amazing storytelling, multi-layered characters, thought-provoking stories, and then even the most insanely stunning visual makings. The whole world building is just so authentic and lived in, and I was blown away by how deep the story is. So I watched a few times and I couldn't get over myself, and I really want to make a video to appreciate these characters, to understand and explore the intricacy behind these characters, their heroism, their struggles, their pain, and that's what makes this story so deep. If you're with me, you should watch this video. The whole story starts with war, and you know, wherever there's inequality, there's war. Where does the inequality come from? Arcane has two worlds, Piltover and Zon. Piltover is a fancy topside city full of prosperity, while Undercity Zon is the opposite. It's full of violence and chaos. That's why the Zon people are never satisfied with where they end up with, and the tension is always high between these countries. The peace is also fragile. Besides from the conflict between these two worlds, these two cities, there's also conflict within their own world as well. I mean, for Undercity Zon, there are two bosses, Vander and Silco. Vander is a bigger boss, I would say, and he's a peacemaker. He has seen enough bloodshed by fighting the oppression in the past. That's why he wants to keep things where it is right now. He wants this fragile peace. But on the other hand, for Silco, who always stirred the pot, and wants justice, wants to fight for more, wants independence for the Undercity people. So you see, these two characters, these big bosses in the Undercity, have different values, but they have one thing in common. They care about the Undercity people, and of course want the best for them. But still, the conflicts between these two characters have set a chain reaction of betrayals, alliances, and tragedies in the end. But I think that's also what makes this story so interesting, isn't it? And switch to the topside city, Piltover. It's all different. It's shiny, fancy, high-tech, and also guarded by the formidable government force. Life up there is just sweet. And of course, the topside city is happy with where it is right now. I mean, their status quo, because they're rich, they're thriving. This somehow reminds me of the Middle East situation that's going on these days. I'm not going to comment on which countries, but you guys all know. But I feel like it's really the inequality that sets the stage for clashes and conflicts that constantly brew until it beneath the surface becomes war. So history is full of examples where the disparities lead to clashes, and Arcane doesn't shy away from exploring this theme. In the backdrop of a hierarchical society with privilege and power, Arcane isn't just about flashy visuals and epic battles. To me, it's a reflection of our own world with its own complexities and contradiction. And now, let's move our spotlight to the most important characters in the story, Vi and Jinx. Okay, first bomb, Jinx, once Powder. Powder was a smart kid, always tinkering with her little gadgets and inventions. She has a curiosity about this world and always looks for a chance to prove herself. I think this comes from the insecurity she has, especially after losing her parents during the war. And she has no one to rely on but her sister. She needs a lot of assurances and security and encouragement. And that's the character she was as a little kid, but I still like her so much because she has a very sweet voice with a very smart brain. You know, how amazing that combo is. But like I said, Powder is a kid with a lot of insecurities. And in one of the most important fights, her sister Vi dumped her. I wouldn't say dumped her, but her sister wants to protect her and leaves her behind. However, for Jinx or for Powder, that means doubt. That means untrust. That means leaving the family behind. And that's a heartbreaker. But still, Powder wants to help. So she goes there and carries her little technology, kills everybody by accident, except for Vi. And still at that time, she looks for recognition. I know it's so hard to live in such a world with no guidance, especially for a kid. The moment when she was so helpless, Silco showed up and offered her kindness. And now Powder starts to embrace the darker side of herself. She even becomes a contradiction, torn between love and evil, and she finally grows into a psychopath. But deep down, I think Jinx still longing for that connection, the sisterly bond she once had as a child. She wants Vi like her, even if she's Jinx now. But the moment when she has to choose between Vi and Silco, she's really torn apart and has to confront who she really is and the pain that's shaped her. It turns out that she lost her mind and killed Silco, but until then, she finally realized how much Silco loves her. In that moment, Powder, the last piece of Powder, has finally shattered and disappeared. She chooses to be Jinx. And why is everything so painful? And why does Vi and her ally bring so much pain to her? Why does the world make her feel so hard? So Jinx, in the end, attacked Piltover, or I shall say initiate the war to the cruel world that brought her so much pain. That's the end of the story. Jinx is a tragedy in this world, and I can't help but think that once oppression took place, it can never be so easily to be wiped out. I mean, even if you've given back the land, the resources, what about the pain they suffered? What about the people they lost? It seems that this is the only ending for this world. The world transformed Powder to Jinx, and the destiny of Powder is Jinx. And now, we can't talk about Jinx without mentioning her sister Vi. They both come from a place of pain and loss. For Vi, as an elder sister, she carries the responsibility of protecting her sister, Powder, and also carries the weight of revenge from the last war that took her parents. But here's the thing, if Jinx is so messed up, I don't think Vi is anything better. Just like Silco says to her, "Girl, you don't know your limit, that's why you got Vander killed and then drove your sister away." Vi's actions often make things worse, like when she brings Jace and his technology to Zaun to take on Silco. Sure, I understand where she comes from. She wants to fight for the best of the people. But why at the same time she brings so much pain and war to their own people? War should be the last resort, and war can never bring peace. Even Jace, the counselor, has realizes the brutality of this action, but not Vi. She swore to take on Silco no matter what it takes. I think somehow the hatred has blindfolded him. And at the beginning, if it wasn't for her, Enforcement wouldn't come to Zaun to turn the things upside down. Vander wouldn't get killed. But we cannot blame Vi really. Because like I said, how do you expect a little child to develop virtues and values in such a filthy world? It's not just a single Vi. There are thousands of Vi in the Undercity that suffer and swear to bring justice and freedom to the Zaun city. Vi is a fighter, there's no doubt about it. But sometimes bravery isn't enough. Young people always want to use violence to solve problems, but they should be able to see that violence can only lead to clashes and worse, war. While I'm saying this from an outsider perspective, I do feel hopeless for this character, Vi, because there's not really much she can do but fight. And coming back to Vander and Silco. Vander, the hero, the peacemaker that can sacrifice himself to protect his kids. But for Silco, who is a cunning and ambitious leader who stops at nothing to achieve his goals, he uses Shimmer, his technology, to transform his army into monster. He wants pride, he wants justice, and most of all, he wants freedom. He's not afraid to get hands dirty because he knows that's a price. And we have to talk about father-daughter relationship between Jinx and Silco. As soon as Silco adopted Jinx, he instilled Jinx's head with, violence, revenge, power, all those stuff. But at the same time, he also loves Jinx. He really sees her as a daughter. He's willing to sacrifice anything, even including the independence for Zaun, just to keep Jinx safe by her side. That's a real love. He thinks Jinx is perfect. And I really like one of the scenes where Silco was talking to the sculpture of Vander. He said, "Brother, is there anything as undoing as a daughter?" And that makes me laugh. It feels like two fathers who don't know how to do with their daughters are complaining to each other. But what it really means is Silco is not ready to hand over his daughter, and that might undo everything he's been doing up until that point. And at the same time, Silco has so much animosity towards Vander because he gave up the dream of Zon just to keep his kids safe. He finally understands why Vander stops fighting. Silco's character blurs the line between right and wrong. He is brutal, yes, but the justice he fights for the people is also real. He also has, followers like Savika who understands him and supports him the whole time. So both Vander and Silco are very complex and well-written characters, multi-layered, multi-dimensioned, and that's what makes the story so thought-provoking. And I have to talk about my favorite character, Ekko. I know Ekko may not have too much of play in this show, but I like him for a very simple reason. His wisdom. He sees things through. He also grew up from a little kid with no family around, but he has his own judgment, and he knows that Silco is not a person he can ally with. And another thing that sets him apart was his ability to forge connection with right people, like Heimerdinger, which is very surprising and unexpected, to be honest. It also shows that his resilience, his bravery, and most of all, his wisdom, because he knows who to trust and how to cooperate in such a world that's full of conflict and clashes. And that's so much for today. I have to say I'm so glad that I watched this show. It really had me thought a lot about the complexity of humanity and also the intricacy of, hierarchical societies. Arcane to me is really a journey that goes through highs and lows of human emotions. Through the eyes of, different characters, I get to see their pain, their struggles, their heroism, which are really brilliant. I really hope that you enjoy this show and also enjoy watching my video. Please let me know if you have any thoughts on the characters down below in the comments. And thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, and I look forward to taking you to the next cinematic adventure in my upcoming video. Cheers! Bye!